Okay, we are recording. No attendees in yet, so just give it a minute before I start my thing. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be getting started momentarily. Just waiting for a few more people to join first. Okay. Perfect. All right, welcome everyone again. Thank you again for joining us. Just waiting for a couple more people to join. We will start in about a minute. Okay. Welcome everyone again. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to get started. We have reserved about 45 minutes for today's session. And in just a few moments, we will introduce our special guest panelist, Chris Pollock, CEO of Pollock & Pollock. And we do have a large turnout for today's session, so all lines have been placed on mute, but we will be leaving room for a Q&A at the end. So definitely please feel free to chat any questions you have in the chat box below on your screen. And we will make sure to attend to all your questions at the end of the session. We really want today's session to be as interactive as possible. So without further ado, I will pass it to our host, Dory Weissman, our Vice President at MyBar and Chief Software Analyst at the Business Software Education Center. So Dory, please take us away.
Thank you so much, Maria, and thanks everybody for attending today. We're very excited about today's session and especially about our special guest panelist, Chris Pollock, CEO of Pollock & Pollock. I think you'll find Chris's insight about business and technology to be very relevant and certainly quite engaging. And interestingly enough, I found a piece that Chris put together about 2 weeks ago that I thought was very appropriate given current circumstance and the topic of today's session. So I'm going to quickly jump to that and let you listen to Chris firsthand.
Here's a thought for today. It's October 26th. And if today is your birthday, you share your birthday with C.W. Post, founder of the Post cereal company. You know those times when you feel your business is super competitive? Well, the competition in the cereal business is absolutely ruthless. And after the stock market crash in 1929, going into the Depression, Post cereal company found themselves in real challenging times, kind of like we are today. And Post cereal company did the obvious. They slashed expenses, hunkered down, got in survival mode. And one of their rivals, Kellogg's, they decided to take a little bit of a different approach. They decided that they were going to double down on their advertising expenses in radio and promote a new cereal they invented, Rice Krispies. The results? Well, Kellogg's snapped, crackled, and popped their way past Post cereal to #1 in the cereal business. So there's only 66 days left in 2020. And, you're getting ready for 2021. Think a little bit about Kellogg's. There are opportunities out there. Ask yourself, as a business owner, am I hunkered down or am I looking for opportunities? Now's the time to be looking for those opportunities if you haven't, because they're out there. So you got to be looking out for them. You got to find them, and then you got to take action on them. Now go make something happen.
That is outstanding. And that is just so appropriate. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that with us and the rest of the audience. I think they'll certainly get some insight. And as we think about the agenda today, think about hunkering down as we all are. We want to look today at what are the driving decisions behind everybody's migration to the cloud and the rapid movement there. Especially in small and mid-market organizations. And of course, we'll focus on some of the industry trends and the economic conditions and what we call the work from home realities and placed upon us by COVID and really a more agile workforce in general. We'll also focus a bit on the need for a digital marketplace and the need for business agility. And I think both of those things are topics near and dear to Chris Pollock and how he's managed to drive his company forward. And we'll look at some practical examples of how he's leveraged digital transformation within his business, has integrated his e-commerce initiatives, integrated warehouse management, CRM, really looking at a full frontal attack on the market and making sure he's positioned his business well to do that. And a slide I often like to present as we embark on these presentations is one from Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft. And he has certainly helped navigate his organization, which if you think about it, was always an on-premise based software company, right? Windows and server and platform applications, data centers and businesses alike. And he's suggesting that we all have to start thinking about our organization as a digital company. Right? Not just about buying software or buying a new piece of software. It's about thinking about yourself in different ways and harnessing the digital technology to a strategic business advantage. He's certainly done that for Microsoft, and people like Netsuite are doing a wonderful job at helping small and mid-market organizations like Pollock and Pollock and hopefully like yours to leverage some of these same digital transformation strategies. Just a bit about Chris. We know that he's CEO of Pollock and Pollock. They are a distribution organization located in central New Jersey, actually north central New Jersey. As I mentioned, he's a digital transformation leader, really focused on new technologies. I remember early on, Chris taking advantage of digital cataloging technologies and B2B e-commerce, and certainly being able to leverage that as early adopter in those processes. He is a member of Vistage, a worldwide CEO peer group for since 2000, and I think like-minded CEOs and really having a healthy exchange of ideas. Being in that organization for so long, I think gives him a great perspective, not only on his own business, but what other CEOs like yourselves are thinking about as they manage to navigate these choppy waters. And he's also a member of the Business Technology Association. So welcome aboard, Chris. Happy to have you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Great. Outstanding. We focus on modern business focus areas. I know this is a topic that's near and dear to you. We think about 4 key things, right? Empowering our employees. The concept of the knowledge worker has emerged from the task worker and having the skill sets necessary to manage data and manage information. Being able to engage with customers in more meaningful ways. We'll see practical examples of that around Chris's B2B initiatives using NetSuite. Optimizing business operations and risk mitigation, right? These are the modern business focus areas. These are what peers are thinking about. And when we dive a little bit deeper into some of those key drivers, I've highlighted a few key items, one of which in the center of this is business risk. And Chris, one of my memories in working with you, I think back to Hurricane Sandy. And the devastating impact that had on your business. And maybe you can share with us what happened and how it helped shape your thinking.
Well, yeah, I would say that a lot of people, if they're in our area, in this New York metropolitan area, you probably had your own experience with Hurricane Sandy, and our business was down for a week. Nothing to do with any damage to the facilities. The problem was just power outages. It took a week until our power was back up, and it was a very difficult time. We had everybody at home. We couldn't ship any product at that time. And from a communication point, we were only able to get our website and, be able to have people talk by cell phones. But it was very primitive. And we had actually even been through another hurricane the year before, Hurricane Irene. People forget about that, but they were back to back. So we had, two events like that back to back in a year. And we knew that we were always going to have to make this investment and make a change in something. It's always something you hold back on, those big capital investments, trying to squeeze one more year out of it. And Hurricane Sandy was basically the straw that broke the camel's back. By the time we got to the end of the year, I had called up Jory and I said, I think this is the year we're making the move. So let's set a meeting right after the first of the year. And that's when the whole process began of us moving to NetSuite.
Yeah, well, and we did some other things on your infrastructure there, and everybody started thinking about redundancy and failover and having spare servers and secondary servers. And I was sharing with Chris earlier that one of our other clients had a facility on the West Coast, so they said, "Hey, let's put another server out there and try to mitigate our risk of server failure from all manner of things." And that can be quite an expensive proposition as you think about redundancy and not necessarily having cloud architecture to help support doing that in a much more cost-effective way without the significant capital investment. And of course, digital transformation and moving to the cloud, we look at aging infrastructure and a continual upgrade cycle. I know some of the big expenses that you had to endure through the process was the periodic upgrade of your on-premise environment, which was about new servers and new databases and operating systems, and then of course making sure that everything matched, and then the dreaded upgrade of the ERP software, which was a nightmare and a huge expense. And I know you were never a big fan of that.
No, never a big fan. Never a big fan of that. That's always the expense that you try and put off on doing that. And that was the great thing that Jory told me about NetSuite, was that being in the cloud here, I'm not going to have all of those servers, which was a big investment, and having to maintain those. And I actually put a little more pressure on Jory once we had our first meeting, because I told them, we're actually going to have to move this year too. And so I'm going to put a deadline on you, because we're going to have NetSuite up and running so that I can pull the plug on these servers and that we don't have to move them when we move in June. So
yeah.
So we really put pressure on both sides of the coin on that one.
Yeah, and I'm not sure everybody believes that you can avoid the hassle of the upgrade and the migration. A lot of times when you have personalization, customization into old software, the need to recreate that and have it be functional with new solutions. I can tell you, I was skeptical until I lived through multiple upgrade cycles with NetSuite, and it was wow. It was for real. You are able to personalize it, have a unique experience, and yet enjoy that transformation as the software evolves. And I think the marked difference that you see between a solution like a NetSuite and some of the older on-prem solutions is the rate of change, because we would do these upgrades for the purposes of compliance. But you never really saw necessarily an improvement in your business process per se. It was kind of like the same old and new window dressing, but it didn't necessarily change things dramatically. And it's very different today with a solution like NetSuite. One of the other things we focus on, you said you moved your business and you kind of downsized your facility, and your business changed, right? And the ability to adapt to change. And you still do a significant amount of wholesale distribution out of your facilities, but I think you also had some different changes take place relative to business process and how you interacted with your supply chain, more about drop shipping. Maybe you could share a couple of thoughts on that and how you adapted with NetSuite.
Yes, well, a lot of that had been changing during that last year before making the decision to move into this. A lot more of our customers, as opposed to just traditionally ordering and stocking product from us and shipping it on their own, they were wanting to use us as their warehouse and doing drop shipment orders for them. So our amount of order processing was increasing, and they were in these smaller packaging, and through the software there was a lot more steps in processing these orders, and it was really slowing us down. I didn't want to hire more people to process the orders or anything at that point, but it was starting to have difficulty on us being able to ship orders same day. We would have to start putting a time limit of telling customers that if you don't submit your orders by 2 o'clock, we can't guarantee that it's going to go out the same day. Usually we have a lot of people calling in at 4 o'clock wanting to still get it out the same day, sometimes even later. We don't necessarily guarantee it, but we always try and work that. Jory had told us about the NetSuite solution, how that helps go through it. And when my team got to go through the demos of it, they saw just how much of a huge impact that had on the productivity. And once we made the change there, that had made all the difference here. We didn't have to put any limitations any longer on people doing drop shipments. We can still keep up our service levels as we had previously.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to move a little forward onto our next thing. Just having a little speed issue on my desktop, unfortunately, but here we go. One of the things people think about is about scalability and the elasticity of the cloud, and being able to interact the software in different ways. And so by scalability, we're talking about, can we add users? Can we add capabilities? Can we add functions, both upward and downward, without having to invest in infrastructure? And that's certainly a key benefit of the cloud: infinite elasticity and infinite scalability, and being able to move data, expand your database, expand your user count as you need to. Cybersecurity is a very real threat today. Every business is exposed at some level, and having those challenges, as an infrastructure practice here, as well as an ERP practice. Unfortunately, we see, sometimes the ill effects of users who they're taken advantage of, which, the human vector is challenging. But being able to have a professional organization like Oracle NetSuite manage your infrastructure really relieves a headache from backup, redundancy. We talk about high availability, and with more, types of business transactions, e-banking connectivity, credit card processing going on, compliance and data security is really important. Being PCI compliant on credit card management is a key issue. So these are all factors that the professionals at NetSuite worry about, and becomes just less of a headache, less of a liability in terms of your day in, day out business process. But we're not alone in some of these thoughts. Chris isn't alone in these thoughts. At the Business Software Education Center, we go out and we survey business owners like you to get a sense of, what are your peers thinking about? And as you can see, more than 50% of them are less than 250 employees. But we also do interview much larger organizations to get their perspective. Fortunately, cloud has kind of leveled the playing field a bit. But we know that we want to focus in on the group of organizations that are more relevant to your size. And we asked them in 2020, what technology and strategic initiatives are you planning on implementing? And really, if you look across the board, analytics and dashboarding is a key item. I know Chris and I spent a lot of time talking about that, and putting some stuff onto his smartphone that he's able to leverage. I know I live on that every day. As I take my business mobile on my smartphone, I have it all right here through the app. But also 29% of thinking about cloud adoption and migration. Everybody's concerned about cybersecurity and, in essence, digital transformation. But all of these things, all that we're looking at, these strategic initiatives, are all empowered by transition to the cloud, and what an organization like NetSuite is doing to support it. In total, 64% of the respondent organizations are thinking about investing in or continuing to invest in their digital transformation strategy. And NetSuite as a platform has really helped to pull that all together, right? If we think about the NetSuite, what we call the unified platform, bringing together ERP and financials, bringing together CRM, bringing together e-commerce as a single unified data source all in one roof. It's not about integration. It's about eliminating the silos and having them work as a cohesive unit. And Chris, when we started out, you talked about the speed with which we had to get things going, and that can be a daunting proposition. Taking a standing functional business that's doing all of these things, albeit in various silos. I know you had, 2 or 3 different CRM solutions that you toyed with over the years, and e-commerce, and we had to kind of bring them all together under one roof. So we think about this as what we'll call a stairway to excellence. And we think about the establishing the firm foundation, which is financials and sales and inventory management. But we really had to take you beyond that to what we'll call the elevate stage, right? I know B2B e-commerce was critical for you as a launch item, and making sure that you were able to maintain that connection with your clients. And then ultimately we expanded through supply chain automation and did things in your warehouse. It was almost like those first 3 steps had to happen at the same time.
Yeah, almost, not quite, but the first year, our main goal was to, just keep the transactional part of the business running, all of the, inventory, financials. We did have an B2B e-commerce site that migrated over to NetSuite. So that was our critical thing to keep up and running. And probably about after the first year, that's where we stepped up to do more of the add-ons to enhance that. That's where we worked in implementing the CRM, getting rid of the separate one, bringing it in under NetSuite. Then there was also an EDI portion, which my sales team had been really requesting that we needed to get involved in that, because they were losing business to competitors because we didn't have that capability and they did. However, when I first investigated that, we were on our old system, and I knew I was thinking about doing this upgrade to NetSuite. And I said, well, what happens if you change your system and you go to a new system? They said, well, you go through the whole process all over again through the expense. So I know I could only do that expense once. So I had to tell my team that, look, we can't have that right away. However, we're going to make this switch over to this new system, and within 1 year, then we'll be able to have within the budget to add that on. And but that's about all we could do. Even with what we did at that, at that schedule, it was extremely aggressive. And Jory's team really helped us get through that. It was really a collaboration. We both worked together. However, my experience of working with MyBar goes over 30 years. So when it came time to do something like this, I knew exactly who I was going to work with and just picked up the phone and got it started.
That's awesome, and you raised some great points about planning, managing expectations of your staff. It's kind of like drinking through a fire hose. You just can't do that successfully. I think you've got to be able to manage those expectations, which really what we highlighted here, points 1, 2, and 3. It's almost like those 3 things had to happen out of the gate, right? That's what we had to stand up. And I think the biggest issue is figuring out what is it that we need. What does day 1 or day 100 look like, and and then what is everything thereafter? And it may mean compromising on certain things, and just aligning those expectations. But you also talked about doing it together, and that's often missed. I think our greatest successes as an implementation organization is when we have a customers in lockstep with us and 100% buy-in, because we all got to really work our tails off to make that happen, right?
Yeah, no, I would say I've got to give a ton of credit to my team and them working closely with MyBar, and them supporting us the same and making this happen. Because when I look back on it, I really did kind of put my team in a situation of drinking from that fire hose. we were going to go through this change. We knew it was going to take a lot of work. And then, just as I had to tell Jory, oh, guess what? We decided that we're going to physically relocate our facilities. So we want to do that by June. So, during May, by the end of May, we've got to have NetSuite up and running so we can unplug those servers. And then we're going to move everybody over here. So, they got through it. But when I look back on, what we did over that whole 6-month period, I was like, boy, I really stressed things to the limit.
Yeah, it's a battle, but I think everybody's got to really roll up their sleeves, and it's about data. And, I sit here thinking about, we, probably had 15 years worth of legacy code, right? And, what happens is over time, as businesses mature, they build in all of these eccentricities to the software and different capabilities, and add a field here and do this there and do that there. And in the old days, when you did it in code, it was all about source code. And not only did it freeze you from going through the updates, but the fear is when we go over to a new system, we've got to somehow plan to do all of that, which just, frankly, may not be possible, especially when you have shortened timelines, and there's budget realities and time realities. And what ends up happening, I think a lot of that vestige stuff kind of is just that vestige. It kind of dies off, and you get to do business in a new way. And one of the questions I had thinking about was, you did forego a lot of the old way of doing things, but you found a lot of new things in NetSuite and in terms of business process that helped optimize the operations, correct?
Yeah, believe me, NetSuite has plenty of capabilities to get the job done, and we only scratched the surface of it, for sure. They've got so many things in there that my people learn new things all the time during this pandemic. They've even told me over these past few months, NetSuite's been putting on a lot of video webinars about portions of their software. So they've been investing time themselves, learning new things about the software that they didn't know before, that they had capabilities, and even some new things that they had no idea were available. And they're starting to look into those things.
Great. Yeah, I remember when we sat down after the go live, kind of took a deep breath and thought about, hey, what's next? Where do we go next? And one of the things that I know you were always concerned about was CRM. So then we kind of got steps 1, 2, and 3 out of the way. And we sat down with your sales team and thought about how do we engineer a sales and lead and a follow-up strategy and give you visibility to pipeline. And I think that's really where you first started to get your hands around some of the dashboards and some of the business intelligence that, we built out. I know there are some metrics. You may have some favorites, but, we put in place sales execution, and we brought in training resources that really focus there. Tell us about your sales team's experience in terms of how they're using that and the benefits of having a unified platform where CRM used to be separate. So, your transactional data sat in one place, your sales and lead data sat in another place. And sometimes bringing those things together was a fortune and challenging.
Yeah. No, you'd have a lot of time that you would be spending with the, with the sales team trying to look at some of these pipelines and, where it was. They would spend quite a bit of time saying, oh, I need days to, get this organized so we can sit down and meet, because it was all in a separate area. And now that we have it in NetSuite, when people do everything all the time, we can actually just pull up a report of, deals that they're working on, get an idea of their pipeline, just look at some quick dashboards, and we can have very quick and effective meetings on it. And the other plus, once we moved the CRM portion under NetSuite, also was that, it was with the communication between the sales team and the administration team. Normally, you'd have your salespeople talking to customers, special notes or things that they had of how they work with the customers or any particular emails or conversations. And then you'd have somebody in your administrative department calling on a customer, and they'd say, oh, don't call them, I'm on top of that problem. But now once it's all under NetSuite, they would see if they were calling the customer, oh, I already saw that there's a conversation going on with the salesperson, so let me take care of that internally. So it helped with a lot of communication issues as well. And, also, Jory had part of his, team. He had, you had both Kevin and Derek spend time and work with my sales team as far as learning, their processes, what they were doing, and they help lend some insight of how they could leverage NetSuite to do that. So that was very helpful in them being able to put that together.
Yeah, that was, we enjoy that kind of stuff because, that's the stuff that adds to the top line growth of the business, helps the business move more efficiently. And, the capability of being able to, in your lead management follow up, be able to see the history of really what's happening transactionally and everybody being on the proverbial same page is truly a reality. And we've adopted that here internally. We went online to NetSuite here at my bar, and we left behind our CRM at the beginning, and operating in two different worlds, right? And we slowly started migrating, lead execution, follow-up management, things of that nature, all the way to our service department now. And we've shut off the last of the systems and we have it all under one roof. And I can tell you, it makes a world of difference. I've got one place to go, one place to look at my information, and I don't have to worry about integration or anything like that. You mentioned the word EDI, and we get to point number 5, because I think a lot of organizations today in the distribution space have to concern about fostering closer ties with their supply chain, vendors and customers. And this traditional EDI where you're shipping to some of the big box stores, yours is a little bit different in that it's kind of an industry portal, if you will, a centralized buying portal that you need to be a part of because there was transactions moving through that portal that, frankly, if we didn't connect to it, we'd be left behind. So we leveraged NetSuite's open API structure. You worked with one of our developers, Robert here, who used to write old VAM or ERP code for you, and now he helped you do an integration there. Share with us a little bit about that and how seamless that is and how that's helped the organization.
Yeah, that was a huge help for us. That kind of goes back to the software that I was looking at that my sales team was requesting, because they talked about how they were losing business because in our industry with our customers, 80% of them run their ERP with one company, and they would have this one program for doing their purchase orders. Originally somebody would either put an order through our site or email us a PO, and then we would process the order and we invoice them. Well, now that they wanted to do more drop shipping, our customers, if they use this software through their software vendor, they could put the purchase orders in exactly where they wanted the product drop shipped, and it would just load right over to us automatically, put those orders in and process it. And then when we processed and invoiced it on our side, that would also upload back to the customers and go back into their system. So they didn't have to have anybody entering invoices or anything like that. Everything was automatic.
Understood.
So it saved a lot of productivity on both our sides. And it was also something that, helped with the customers wanting to stick and be loyal to you, because, we found them, less to be shopping around or trying to find other vendors just because of having this feature that it took a lot of headache out of what they wanted here. They weren't so interested in trying to just shop around deals. They saw the value and the productivity that they were getting.
That's a great point. People often think about the fact that, you put up the portal and you have a B2B e-commerce site, but, sort of great. They're coming online. They have the convenience of shopping and seeing your cataloging, making that entry. And, it's great for them from a convenience standpoint, really great for you in that, it's seamless order flow. But they're redoing it in their own ERP system. And so by connecting these two systems together, you really created an efficiency on both sides. And to your point, made you less of a commodity and more of something that really fostered that deeper relationship, which is, we think about in CRM execution, we think about systems integration where that's really there to tie both from an efficiency perspective and a customer loyalty perspective. And I think, your experience there with NetSuite goes a long way. Never easy to do as we think about this. And one of the questions that came up was about the timelines. And I think you mentioned, accelerating and doing it aggressively. We would just ask the timeline for an implementation. I think you said was about 4 to 6 months is what it took us to get through those first 3 stages. And then you gradually started to implement some others. It sounds about right in terms of your timeline. It's about 6 months. Good. As we think about the challenges that businesses face, nobody loves to change ERP systems. As one business coach once told me, nobody wakes up one morning and says, I think I'm going to go buy me some new ERP today. It's something that people think about for an extended period of time. What cautions can you share with people as they do their shopping? What were some of the things that were important to you as you selected your partner? I know we've enjoyed close to 30-year relationship. We've done 4 or 5 different systems together. Mm-hmm. But if you had to give somebody some advice in terms of what to look for from your perspective, what would that be?
Well, I would say when we first talked about NetSuite of why that was a choice, I think that you explained it to me the best, Jory, because the reason why we had held off making these changes was exactly that. We would either have to go to a whole new upgrade of the existing legacy one. Usually you would try and milk that as long as you could until you'd have to get this call and say, guess what? The software company's no longer going to support that version anymore. So you've got to upgrade to this newer one, and that could run anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 to do something like that. Not all that exciting to just get, a slightly newer version of something you had here, and probably not a lot. And when you explain NetSuite to me, aside from the point that it's in the cloud and we, take the worry and concern out of the investment in the servers, and, that'll all be part of the package, was you kind of made it sound similar to something like Facebook. You said, that's an app that you go on your phone, on your computer, you're used to it, and they come out with all of these updates. Right. And he said, you never pay for it. You're always running on the latest version. So you're never going to be held hostage that you're stuck in this old version. And for you to get to the new version, you're going to have to make this significant investment to get you to the next level. That was the benefit of it, is that you are always going to have these upgrades, that it's included in what you pay, on a monthly basis for using NetSuite. And that was really, that was really a big plus. And we've been on NetSuite for a little over 6 years now. Yeah. And I would say probably just in the last 3 years, there's even been more upgrades and advancements. And part of that was Oracle buying NetSuite. When Oracle bought NetSuite, Oracle has invested so much money to, make NetSuite the #1 platform out there for businesses here, and it shows. They're investing a lot. They're putting a lot of free education out to the users out on it. They're coming out with a lot of newer features and updates even faster that you can take advantage on, and they're not increasing your prices on it. Yeah, and it's because they've just been dedicated that they want to grow this business.
Yeah, you mentioned some really key points there, and NetSuite really doubling down in customer information and communication about the updates and the upgrades. We see the evolution of the software solution over time. It definitely gets better, and that you're incorporated in the community, and you're taking advantage of what's available and what's out there. And truth is, your spend with us has gone down dramatically. Right, I think your spend with MyBar is significantly lower. In consulting services, obviously you had a big bite of the apple, and the first 5 steps that we see depicted on the screen. But I think your support costs with us have disappeared, right? Gone down.
Yeah, a lot in that area. I mean, they shipped here, but you have some newer expenses, but it's a shift. It's not really a significant increase. And if your business hasn't been in a work from home environment until just recently, like I said, we got involved with this about 6 years ago, and we really didn't have the capabilities to work remotely, and it brought a lot of freedom to my employees in my company. I had ladies that had kids in school, so that they could work part-time in the office and work from home. Not having to take vacation days off if a child was sick. Even when we had snow days, now we could fully operate from home and still work with customers, take sales calls, even if we may not have been shipping that day. So we were much more productive and not losing business. And when the pandemic hit and we were really forced that, office employees had to work from home as opposed to being in the office, this was a very stress-free move to us when this happened back in March. It was nothing because we had already been living this way for years. We just had no idea we were going to do this for months on end. We've only had to do it for maybe a day or two of something if it was inclement weather or something like that. The significant drop in revenues, that was the most stress. But as far as being able to operate as a company and not miss a beat, it was seamless for us.
Yeah, I think it's forever changed. It's certainly fostered migration to the cloud. Makes people far more aware. I could tell you, our infrastructure practice clients were scrambling to get people online from home. It's not the same experience, unless you're in a solution in the cloud like this. And you talk about working from home. Really, no loss of fidelity, right? You're able to do it without loss of anything. And that's not always the same experience with the older on-premise solutions.
And even if I'm traveling out of the office, just like you said, I can pick up my phone and I can I can't see everything on the computer that I would. It could be a little bit more effective, but the stuff that I really want to know, it's right here on this phone.
Yeah, absolutely. I did the same way. And I get my KPIs, and a lot of times it boils down for executives that's listening in is I want to make my business processes more efficient. I want to have worry-free, stress-free existence so I can focus on what matters, and I want to have my metrics and KPIs delivered quickly and get that all under one roof. And I think it solves those issues. And man, I could tell you, Chris, this 45 minutes went by really quick. I could talk to you for forever, but I'm so appreciative of you taking the time. And I know the audience, quite a few people in attendance today, really appreciate you sharing your insights, both as a business leader and a technology leader, and someone who is, as you said, doubling down when things get a little bit challenging. And I know that's really a helpful situation for everybody that's in attendance. So We're brushing up against the end. The only other housekeeping thing I wanted to point out is that certainly please reach out to us and talk about, we do have an offer in market to help businesses adapt to NetSuite prior to the year end. We're providing some free implementation services with a subscription to help accelerate that process, trying to make it as easy as possible. We've become very skilled at data migration work. And, I think with the right perspective, as Chris pointed out, rolling up our sleeves, doing this as a team, we can make this a really successful process for you. So thank you, Chris. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention and attendance today. There will be a recording of this available. We will email it out in case there's any pieces you missed, you want to share it with anybody at the office. And we'll see you again at our next presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Pleasure
guys.
joining you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.